Now we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Today we are going to talk about the immaterial jhanas. So since the name of jhana is immaterial, so we have to understand that we don't take any materiality as an object. Well, that means we will not take any of the perceptions of materialities. So it will be a little bit more in detail in this part. Whenever the Buddha talk about the immaterial jhanas, the Buddha used the same Pali formula. Punaja Brahmbhikkhave Bhikkhu Sabaso Rupa Sanyanam Samatikama Rika Sanyanam Atangama Nanda Sanyanam Amanasikara Anando Agasoti Agasanjayanam Ubasamaja Viharati. Again, with the complete surmounting of perceptions of materiality, with the experience of perceptions of sincere impacts, with no intention to perceptions of diversity, aware that space is infinite. A bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the base of infinite space. This is the Pali sentences we can find in many of Buddhist texts. So when we are going to talk about this one, so we have to explain part by part. For example, here in the Pali mentioned Punaja Brahmbhikkhave Sabaso. That means Sabaso means by all means, or in any reasons, or in every aspect. Rupa Sanya Samadhikama. You mean the experience of the surmounting of the perceptions of materialities. Now also with the experience, another one is Badika Sanya Atangama, with the experience of perceptions of sensory impact. Another one is Badika Azinanada Sanya Amanasikara, with no attention to perceptions of diversity. That means the variations of objects. The Anando Akaso, Anando means infinite or boundless. Akaso means the space. Mostly we just translate as a boundless space. Ananda also can be boundless, also can be considered as infinite. Now we can move to the next one, as mentioned. So here material jhana, here Rupa Sanya, the materiality, here we talk about material jhanas and their objects. So there are mentions. We may not pay attention to any material jhanas and their objects. So when we are practicing material jhanas, we have to take such as kasina, anapanasati as objects. But now this immaterial jhana will not take any of these objects. Not only that, it will not take any material jhanas as an object also. For example, when we study the second immaterial jhana, it will take the first immaterial consciousness as an object. But any of immaterial jhana will not take the material jhanas and their objects. So another one is samadhikama, detachment, discussing or making it ease or cease. So which means sometimes we have attachment to material jhanas and their objects, we're going to overcome it. We're going to surmount it. So we can also say like disgusting. That means we dislike or we disagree with this kind of object. So as long as we are willing to enter into material jhanas, we cannot achieve immaterial jhanas. So making it cease, which means it will make all the material jhana cease. So after making material jhanas cease, we can take immaterial jhanas. Of course, as we have learned in Abhidhamma, as long as we can take one object, immaterial object, we cannot take material object anymore, because one mind moment or 1 minute process can take only one object. That's why it's impossible to take two objects at the same times. So Paticca Sanya, the 5 sense objects and their basis. So as we have known that, for example, when we see the object, but when we talk about the immaterial jhanas, it will not take color as object. This is the one thing. Or smell, taste, touch, or any body sensations of tangible objects. It will not take any sense objects. Also, it will not take their basis as an object also. For example, in the eyes, eye consciousness will arise. So the color will impinge in the eye door. So immaterial jhana will not take eye doors or eye base or color object. Similarly, ear doors, ear base, and sound object, audible object. Then similarly, smell and nose door or nose base. Then the flavor and the taste, or the taste of the tongue base or tongue door as object. Similarly, body and tangible objects. So these are the gross objects. That's why here we say as a Paticca Sanya, the perceptions of gross. Paticca means a little bit gross. Another Sanya, the remaining 44 sensual sphere consciousnesses, expecting the 10 sense of consciousness, because in the Paticca Sanya, you already mentioned 10 of them. That's why here only remain 44 sensual sphere consciousnesses. So here we have to understand as an object. That means it will not take any of these sensual sphere consciousness as an object. Not only that, material jhana as object. These are the very beginning of material jhanas whenever the Buddha talk about it. So here we have to know 3 different things. Rupa Sanya, the perceptions of materialities. Paticca Sanya, the perceptions of sense impact, sensory impact, or we can also say gross objects. Then also another Sanya, the perceptions of variety. Then we have to move to the next one. So he also mentioned for about second immaterial jhana, Punacha Param Bhikkhawe, Bhikkhu Sabaso, Akasanjayaranam, Samadhikama, Anandam Vinyananti, Vinyanajayaranam, Upasamaja Viharati. Again, by completely surmounting the base of infinite space, where that consciousness is infinite, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides at the base of infinite consciousness. So here also we should talk about one more thing. Consciousness cannot be considered as infinite, because we cannot say consciousness big or small or wide or narrow. This is only consciousness, invisible, untouchable. We cannot touch, we cannot see. That's why we cannot say it is a wide or narrow. We cannot say big or small. But here just metaphorically just mentioned, because it takes boundless space as object. That's why it's called boundless consciousness. Here we just use infinite consciousness. So here also, let me surmounting the base of infinite space. This is also one thing. Later we have to explain a little bit more in detail. Okay, the next one. So here we should talk about Vijnanajayana, the abode of unbounded consciousness, or base of unbounded consciousness. So as where the divine beings live is called divine abode. That means the consciousness that take boundless space is called boundless consciousness. Just a metaphor. So in Pali we just call upacha, similarly, like a simile. Okay, anyway, here vijnana is consciousness, ananda is unshaken, and I say abode, unshaken abode. So, okay, anyway, if I take boundless consciousness or infinite consciousness as object, that is called vijnana jhāna. So next one. The Buddha Abraham Bhikkhu Bhikkhu Sapaso Vijnana Jhāna Samadhi Kama Nati Kinjiti Aganjanya Yaranam Upasamaja Viharati. Again, by completely surmounting the base of infinite consciousness, where that there is nothing, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the space of nothingness. So, here we have to know something about nothingness. Mostly people misunderstand that jhana. If we cannot know any objects, that means we can enter into nothingness jhana, because the English word is nothingness. Later we have to explain a little bit more in detail. So that means he must be free from infinite consciousness. Okay, now next one, the last one in the Pali formula, Nati Kinchi, there's nothing. It means sees bhikkhus gathering in the hall and all the bhikkhu leaves. Then when he came back, there's no bhikkhus in the hall. He just know empties. Empty hall without consideration of any other things. I mean, he may not think about, oh, the way to go here and there, or the way to pass away, or anything. He just think about empty hall. So similarly now, nothingness means previously there is boundless space jhana, but this time no more jhana. It just take the absence of boundless space jhana as object. Then this is called nothingness. And nothingness means the absence of jhana, the absence of boundless space jhana. Okay, we have to move the next part of this sentence. Punacha Pram Bhikkhu Bhikkhu Sapaso Agasanada Yadanam Samadhi Kama Nima Sanyana Yadanam Upasamaja Viharati. Again, by completely surmounting the base of nothingness, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. So this is also the part of what the last part of explanation in Pali Suttas. So we can find these Pali formulas in many different suttas. Whenever the Buddha talk about Immaterial Jhānas, we can find these 4 Pali explanations. We should move to the next one. Let's move in. Okay, boundless space. We should start talking about boundless space today. So previous one is just explanations of boundless space, all the Immaterial Jhānas according to Pali's formulas or Pali instructions given by the Buddha. But now we have to explain all these 4 one by one. So now here, the meditator should review the danger of physical body. So actually, this body, we have to know the weakness of this body. As a human being, we have both body and a mind. We can also understand another way. We have both mentalities and materialities. So here one, having physical body, there is the widening of stick, dana, origin of weapons, satadana, quarrels, kalaha, brawls, vikaha, and disputes, vivada. Actually, not only that, there can be many other suffering from this body. So we have this body, there will be many other sufferings. Here we just talk about quarreling, right? Because we have mouths, we can quarrel. We can also dispute. We have this body, that's when some people can torture us with the sticks, with a weapon, or any materials, any instruments. Actually, there's also one explanation. This body is come from mother's eggs and parents' father's sperms. Combination of these two, we have this body, this physical body. So this means originally it's come from impurity, impure. This is the one thing. Otherwise, all the suffering, torturing come from this body. We feel body pain when tortured by somebody. Then two, there are thousands of diseases, such as iron disease, ear disease, and so on. So we have this body, that's why we have a lot of sickness. We have from hair to toe. In every body part, there's a suffering, there's a sickness. That is why, so when we start study Vipassana, we also have to learn full of worms in this body, right? There are many insects, many bacteria in this body, a lot of suffering everywhere, in any part of the body. Then again, here we have to know one more thing about this body. If we don't have this physical body, we may not have this kind of suffering. For example, if we're only in the mind, only mentality, nobody can torture our mind. Nobody can use sticks or weapons or any other materials to torture our body because we have mind, only mind. Similarly, quarreling, brawling, disputing. We don't have bodily, physical body, we cannot speak. We don't have verbal intimations. That is why we don't have any other quarreling or any other argument. Let me totally peace. We have this kind of perceptions, this kind of understanding. If we know the weakness of this body, we can continue practicing boundless space. This is the first part we have to know. Then three, in order to surmount that, he must enter the fourth immaterial jhanas in any of 9 kasinas. So that means to surmount the physical body, with the intention to surmount the physical body, or with the intention, no more desire to have physical body, we must enter the fourth immaterial jhana of any of 9 kasinas. For example, we may enter into all the kasina, fourth jhana, as the foundations. After that, we can also emerge from it. The next one. After emerging from the Arth Kasina fourth jhana, we have to review the weakness of the fourth jhana. So here we have to know one more thing about weakness. Then this fourth jhana takes the material kasinas as an object, which I have discussed it. So that means kasina, all kasina is a materialities. The fourth jhana take that one as an object. So we have to remove this other kasinas. That's why we also have to know the weakness of fourth jhana. For example, if we have to rely on very weak people, then we are also weak. If we have to depend on very strong people, we become strong. Similarly, the object is a materiality. That is why it's weak. This is one of the faults. So we have already reflect or review the weakness of physical body. That is why we have to understand this jhana take very weak material object. Then 5. This 4th jhana is grosser than the material jhanas, as we have learned before. Compared to the first jhana, the second jhana, the first jhana is weak and a little bit grosser. Similarly, compared to the third jhana, the second jhana is weak and gross. Compared to the 4th jhana, the third jhana is weak and gross. Similarly now, compared to immaterial jhanas, the 4th material jhana is also gross and weak. Then we have another one. Bliss is also near enemy. That means if we cannot maintain the 4th jhana, we can drop, we can retrace the 3rd jhana. In the 3rd jhana, there's bliss, sukha, as a jhana fetter. So that's why the bliss is also nearest enemies to the 4th jhana. Then the next slide, the next one. Then re-enter after reviewing all these things, we have to re-enter the 4th jhana of the kasina after the emergence from it. And we have to expand the kasina up to infinite universe. We have to expand as wide as possible. After that, we have to descend the space in kasina. Until we have to expand until we can remove the kasina. Here we have to know something about remove. So this means we have to substitute or replace kasina for kasina. So after removing the kasina, the space kasina will remain there. Then as we expand it, then the space will be infinite space or boundless space, because we have to expand as wide as possible, as we say, up to infinite universe. Then 8. We must focus on boundless space, knowing Anantan Akarsan, Anantan Akarsan, which means we have to know as boundless space, boundless space. If we can focus on the boundless space, okay, here one more thing to remind all the listeners. Sometimes people also ask me, what is the difference between space kasina jhana and boundless space? When we are practicing space kasinas, we have to focus only in one place around our nostril, around our face. After expanding very wide, we have to focus on only one space around our face, or around maybe in front of our face. But now we have to focus on the boundless space. These are different. These two are different. So if we can focus on the boundless space, as we have learned before, we can attain asset concentrations. That means access to the first immaterial jhana. For your information again, previously when we study something about asset concentration, even last week, some people asked me, what is the difference between access and absorption? Then, as I have mentioned before, at the moment of asset concentrations, 500 cells are subsided. So this is by the power of asset concentration. No more hindrances will arise. This is the power of asset concentration. But the jhana factors are not so strong like absorption states. But anyway, jhana factors are powerful enough to subside or to eradicate or to overcome 500 hindrances. These are a little bit different from jhanas. So here, one more thing about mental factors or jhana factors. So in the fourth jhana, we have only two jhana factors, upekkha, equanimities, and one-pointedness, ekaggata. Two jhana factors. Upekkha, ekaggata. Upekkha means equanimity, ekaggata means one-pointedness. This is at the moment of jhanas. But at the moment of assets, it will be different. Right? So for about all the mental formations, mentalities, in our previous jhanas, like Immaterial Jhānas, it will be different. But here, at the time of asset concentration also, no more piti. There can be many other mental factors, but no more piti. Now, for example, like at the moment of jhana, Immaterial Jhānas, there can be 31 mentalities. But at the moment of asset concentration, there can be 33 mentalities. You can also imagine 33 mentalities without rupture, because it already indicated rupture at the moment of assets. So as we have learned before, at the moment of assets, if we are not very strong, or if we don't know how to balance controlling faculties, we can fall into vulnerable states. After balancing, if we are strong enough to balance, or if we are skillful enough to balance 5 controlling faculties, we can attain absorption concentration. So you have to remember these things in every single jhana, because this is the last part of jhana, right? Later we have to talk about very normal things. As we have learned before, in this bounded space, we also have to practice the 5 masteries, as we have mentioned in the first material jhana of kasinas in the very beginning of our class about jhana. Okay, now we have to move the next one, bounded space. So there are mentions, okay, the repetition of previous explanation. This material jhana can surmount 3 types of perceptions. Rupa sanya, the perceptions of materiality. Yadami, the perceptions of material jhanas. There we have already talked about it. It means it will not take any material jhanas and material objects. Then 2, paticca sanya, the perception of resistance, the perception of impingement of any objects in any sense doors. There we already talked about 5 sense doors and 5 sense objects. It will not take any sense doors, any sense objects, any sense consciousness. Then 3, Antarada Sanya, the perceptions of variety, which means remaining sensual sphere consciousnesses and their objects and their bases. So it will not take any of them as objects. So these are the thing we have to surmount, or we have to be free from. If we are free from one of these 3 of them, then if we don't take 3 of these objects, we can say we are in the immaterial jhana. Okay, we have to move to the next one. Then there are 3 types of akasa, akasami space. We can also sometimes say like delimitation or boundaries. Then there are also some questions they also ask me from time to time. Is it possible to attain immaterial jhana based on anapanasati? This is really very common. Many times many people ask me this question. Whenever they ask me this question, I will explain these three types of space. So the first one is the kasinokati magasa, the space by removing kasinas. Here I have already explained when we talk about boundless space. Removing doesn't mean just like a throw away or something like that, right? Take away or something like that. It just means substitutions or replacements. So if we can distance space in the kasinas after expanding, maybe wider than the previous kasinas, this is called kasinokati magasa, space by removing kasinas. So if we can practice this one, we can attain boundless space jhana. That is why without practicing kasinas, it is impossible to attain immaterial jhanas. In the case of anapanasati, we cannot expand. This is not the object to be expanded. That is why it is impossible to see boundless or infinite anapana. Right? After that, we cannot also substitute or replace kasinas for anapana. That's why, based on anapanasati, we cannot practice immaterial jhanas. So 2, parichedakasa, delimiting space. Here, when we talk about the delimiting space, it means the boundaries of rupaklapas. In every single rupaklapas, there's the boundaries, there's the delimitations. So between two klapas, there's a space. This is called parichedakasa. Among klapas, there will be spaces. This is also called parichedakasas. So parichedakasa can be found or can be experienced when we are practicing materialities after seeing rupaklapas. 3, ajatakasa, the untangled space. This is the space we can see, the sky and space. We cannot touch. This is called ajatakasa. So here in the case of boundless space, it must be the first one, kasinokati magasa. Based on that, we can take the boundless space jhana. Okay, we can move to the next one. Boundless consciousness. So when we are going to enter into boundless consciousness, the meditation enter the material jhana systematically as mentioned above. So you have to remember all the process. So for your information, I should summarize. First, we have to review the weakness of physical body. After that, we have to enter into the fourth jhana of kasinas. Emerging from it, we have to review the weakness of jhana. After that, we have to re-enter into the fourth jhana and expand wider than before. After that, descend space in the kasinas, and after expanding space kasinas, we have to focus on the boundless space. So after entering into boundless space jhanas, he must emerge from it. After that, he must review as follows. One, the first Immaterial Jhanas has the Material Jhana as nearest enemy. Two, it is also grosser than boundless consciousness. There are only two things here. You have to review. After reviewing, we have to focus on the boundless consciousness. So what does it mean, boundless consciousness? I have explained before. Consciousness cannot be, say, wide or narrow or small or big. It's just consciousness. We cannot say, but it takes boundless space as object. That's why it's called boundless consciousness. So here, for your information, when we are entering into boundless consciousness, it will take only consciousness. So in the very beginning, as we have known, there is boundless space. That's why there's a boundless consciousness. When we are focused on the consciousness at the time, we don't need to think about space anymore. We just need to discern the consciousness. So that means boundless consciousness will not take. That means this jhana will not take any material as object. It just takes consciousness as object. So previously, when we talk about material jhanas, if we are practicing material jhanas, right? We have to take concept as objects. We can take first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, according to the object. When we take ultimate reality as objects, we cannot attain jhana. We can attain only asset concentration. But here, in the case of immaterial jhana, second immaterial jhana, it will take consciousness as object. This is a special case, special object, because we have very strong foundation. After attaining four jhana, four material jhanas, after attaining boundless-space jhana, we can enter into boundless consciousness. That's why this is a special case. It takes ultimate reality as object, then because this is the sixth jhana, right? According to 8 attainment, this is number 6. Okay, on the next one. So then focus on the boundless consciousness that takes boundless space as object, here knowing, and then down vinyana, boundless consciousness like that. So here we have to know one more thing. There's no weakness of jhana fetters in the immaterial jhanas because they have the same jhana fetters, equanimities and one-pointedness. Let's just reminding. Previously, when we talk about the material jhana, for example, the first jhana to second jhana, the first jhana has 5 hindrances nearest enemy. Also, Vitakka Vichara also grows. This jhana is also not so stable compared to the second jhana. We have to review 3 things. But now here only 2 things we have to review. Because they have the same jhana fetters. So one more thing here you have to understand. In the material jhanas, jhana fetters will change according to the level of jhana, the degree of jhana. The object will not change. For example, Anapana first jhana. The first jhana will take Anapana nimitta as object. Second jhana also take Anapana nimitta as object. Third jhana, fourth jhana also take Anapana nimitta as object. But here, in the case of immaterial jhanas, the object is changing. Only the jhana fetters are the same. These are two difference between material jhanas and immaterial jhanas. Okay, now we have to move to the next one. Nothingness. The meditator must enter the first and the second immaterial jhanas systematically, as we mentioned before. After that, emerging from the second immaterial jhanas, he must review as follows. So the second immaterial jhanas has the first immaterial jhanas as nearest enemy. That is true, is also grosser than nothingness jhana. This is only to review. Only two factors we have to review. After that, we have to focus on the absence of boundless space jhana. Knowing Nati Kinchi. So here we have to understand one more thing. Absence of boundless space jhana as a Nati Kinchi. There's nothing, there's nothing, nothingness. So as we have mentioned before, a man see many bhikkhus gathering in the Sima hall, and then he also leaves. When he came back, he didn't see any bhikkhu anymore. Then he just see the hall is empty. Now similarly, the boundless space jhana has already perished, no more. We have to just pay attention to the absence of the boundless space jhana. This is called nothingness. Then there's also some other questioners. They also ask me some difference between cessation attainment and nothingness jhana. So nothingness jhana is only samatha. What about cessation attainment? We need both samatha and vipassana. Even last week, I have already talked about it. That means only anagami and arhat who can achieve the eight attainments can enter into cessation attainment, Nirodha Samapatti, because it's combinations of samatha and vipassana together. So it must be high quality. Another thing, when they enter the cessation attainment, there's a normal consciousness, no more mentality, no more mind-produced materialities. But here in the case of nothingness, there's the object. The object is the absence of boundless space. So there's a consciousness that can know the object. This one's not cessations of mentalities. In the case of Nirodha Samapatti, there's a cessations of mentality and mind-produced materialities. But here, we still have all types of materialities in our body. There's a mind-produced materialities. There's also consciousness and mental factors that know the object. It's totally different. It's just for your information. The next one. Neither perception nor non-perception. As you have already known that this Pali words, Niwa Sanya, Na Sanya. Neither perception nor non-perception. So when we are going to enter into this jhana, immaterial jhanas, we must enter the first, the second, and the third immaterial jhana systematically, as we mentioned before. And emerging from the third immaterial jhanas, he should review as follows. 1. This jhana has the second immaterial jhanas as it is near enemy. 2, it also grosser than the fourth immaterial jhana. So these are the factors to be reviewed. And again, when we are going to focus, going to practice all these, going to enter into jhana, we have to focus on the calmness of nothingness jhana. Etam sandam, etam panitam. For example, etam sandam calms. We can also say peaceful. Etam panitam is a sublime. That means it's really very good, no? It's superior, we can also say like that. So here we have to know the bliss or the calmness of nothingness jhana as an object. So if we can focus on it, we can also attain the asset concentration. Now, one more thing here, we have to understand something about the practice. In every single immaterial jhanas, there's something to overcome. So in every single jhanas, the previous jhana is weaker, right? We can understand already. Then here in the case of neither perception or non-perceptions, it will not take the object of nothingness. It just takes calmness of nothingness. So be careful, the jhana and the object. So nothingness jhana will take the absence of boundless consciousness, boundless space jhana. But here, it will take the calmness of nothingness jhana. So it will be two different situations. Now here we have to elaborate a little bit more about neither perception nor non-perception. Two negative. Here we can say three negative. Neither perception nor non-perception. So here we should understand one more thing about the perceptions. Perception means we can perceive the object. Without perception, we cannot perceive any object. But there's a subtle perception that can perceive the object. That's why here we just use the Pali words neva sanya, na sanya. Neither perception nor non-perception. Not only that, as we have very subtle perceptions, there are also very subtle feeling, contact, volitions, life faculty, attention. There are many other mental factors that arise together with that consciousness. So there's also very subtle consciousness. So it was so subtle that we cannot discern the mental factors or mentalities one by one. In the Anubbara Vipassana, we cannot discern all these nama dhamma one by one. Now we also have one explanations. That means we call in Pali kalapa samasana, overall discernment. We can discern all jhana effect, all jhana dhammas overall, and we can also contemplate that as anicca dukkha anatta. Okay, anyway, so there's also some simile about neither perception or non-perception. Yeah, I should give you one simile. So there's a one Mahatera. He has an assisted Samnera. So the Mahatera asks his Samnera, his assistant Samnera. Then he asks, please bring the bowl. That means, oh, it's not. That means it's impossible because there's a wine in the bowl. Oh, like this? If like this, okay. Bring the wine to bake the bowl. Okay, one more thing here, I have to explain how to bake a bowl, right? When I'm going to bake a bowl, we have to cook the sesame wine, and it becomes a little bit dark, a little bit sticky. Then we have to, you may have seen stainless steel bowl, right? Totally white, like totally bright. Then we just apply wine on the bowl. After that, we have to burn in the fire. It becomes black color. So that means we should have big amount of wine. We have to cook and it becomes a little bit thick. So when Mahatera say, bring the bowl, he say, it's impossible, Bande. There's a wine on it. Wine in it. Oh, if so, okay, bring the wine to bake the bowl. Oh, that means there's not that much wine. There's wine, but the wine is not enough to bake a bowl. Similarly, there's a perception, but it's not so strong enough to perceive as a perception. That's what we call neither perception nor non-perception. Actually, there is also another simile about that neither perception nor non-perception. They mention something about the water. So, okay, you may have seen very small amount of water on the way, on the path, on the path. Then the same simile, Mahatera and Samnera. The Samnera talk to the Mahatera. Bande, please take off your slipper. There's a water on the path, on the walking path. Then Mahatera, oh, there's water. Please bring me bathrobe. I want to take a shower. I want to take a bath. No, not that amount of water. Just small amount of water. He can wash our slipper. That's why he just say take off. This is another simile. Anyway, when we talk about immaterial jhana, there will be many other things. So briefly, the four immaterial jhanas. Gradually, the first one is also very good. Second one is better. The third one is better than the second one. The last one is the best. So it becomes higher and higher concentrations. That's why we say 4 immaterial jhanas. So if we calculate together 4 material jhanas and 4 immaterial jhana, we can also say 8 attainments. So whenever people say 8 attainments, you have to remember all these material jhanas and immaterial jhanas, as we have already mentioned before. Then we also have another simile about the 4 immaterial jhanas. For example, there are many enjoyable things in the houses, in 4 houses. Okay, let me, the 4-story house. In the first story, there's also many enjoyable things. In the second story, it's better than the second story. The third floor is better than the second floor. The top floor is the best. There are many enjoyable things. So similarly, the first immaterial jhana the second immaterial jhana, the third immaterial jhana, the fourth immaterial jhanas, they are better and better in different levels or different jhanas. Then there's also the simile of the object, simile of the arising of the jhanas. It mentions one simile. There is a pavilion, an open space. Then next to the pavilion, there's also excrement, the filthy hole, right? Then a man is next to the excrement, the filthy hole. Then he's holding the pavilion, but he also for fear that he may fall into filthy hole. That's why he just hanging on the pavilion. The next man also come to see him. Then he also leaned against that person. So that means these two are a little bit risky, right? The first one is holding the pavilion, is also hanging. Second one, lean against the first man. Both of them are a little bit risky. They can fall into filthy hole anytime. They can smear with excrement anytime. That is why the third man stand alone in the pavilion. Then the third one will lean against, the fourth one will lean against the third one. These are the simile. So the first jhana and second jhana, they have relationship. The third jhana and the fourth jhana, they have relationship. Because the third jhana will take the absence of boundless space jhana as object. That's why it lives separately. These are the simile of the arisings of jhana. Then here we have to say something about some mountain. When we read out all the explanations and the writers, he also mentions something about some mountain, right? For example, some mountain of material and so forth. Previously, why we cannot surmount? Why we cannot release from all these kind of objects? Of course, we have no choice. Without attaining material jhana, we cannot attain immaterial jhana. No choice. That is why we have to take materiality as object in the very beginning. There's also another simile mentioned in the Visuddhimagga. There's a man, he has to work for the king. The king has a bed chamber. For his surviving, for his livelihoods, he has to communicate or he has to deal with the king. He has to associate with the king. Otherwise, no earning, no surviving. Similarly, before we attain material jhana, we have no choice. We have to deal with material jhana. All this, there's a lot of weakness, many weakness. So now, when we are going to talk about material jhana, in every material jhana, we have to surmount or we have to overcome something use. Because we take different objects. Right? So here I mentioned these material jhanas have different objects, but same jhana fetters. So we have already learned 4 sublime abiding as the object before. But now we also have already learned Immaterial Jhānas. Okay, Upekkha meditations and Immaterial Jhānas are not for beginners. I mean, as soon as we start meditating, we cannot attain these jhanas. We cannot practice Upekkha meditation. Upekkha meditations have Metta, Karuna, Mudita as a foundation. So that means without Metta, Karuna, Mudita jhanas, we cannot enter, we cannot attain Upekkha jhanas. Actually, we have already explained this one last week. The material jhanas have 1 or 9 kasinas as foundation. Those who have attained jhanas can practice Upekkha meditations and the immaterial jhanas. So these are repetitions of previous practice, Upekkha meditations and immaterial jhanas. Okay, now we have already learned immaterial jhanas. These immaterial jhanas will be useful for higher attainment. Is there anything higher than this immaterial jhanas? Yes, we have. So based on that, we can also practice psychic power. If we are more skillful in entering material jhanas and immaterial jhanas of kasinas, we can also attain psychic power. So, as a meditators, when we can attain very high concentrations, then we can also see Nama-rupas clearer. When we have stronger concentration, we can also discern Nama-rupa faster than other people. That is why we also need to establish concentration in many different ways. So as a conclusion, jhanas is necessary. Jhanas is compulsory to attain psychic power. Of course, when we are going to practice vipassana, although we attain asset concentration, it can be the foundations of insight, the foundations of vipassana. When we have jhanas, we have more options to practice. Our practice will be faster than normal to vipassana vehicle. That is why, for fulfilling parami perfections, we have to practice all types of subjects. So what kind of perfection is jhana? Jhana is nikama parami, the perfections of renunciation. That is why, if we wish to fulfill the parami, we have to practice jhanas. We also have to practice vipassana. We have to do all types of wholesome deeds. If we can do all the 3 trainings, then there will be there will be a complete training of 3 trainings, completely practicing of 3 trainings, which means we can take part in future knowledge, we can take hardship. So these are the power of. This is the power of 3 trainings. And may you all be able to practice Sila Samadhi Panya, the 3 trainings, and as a result, may you all be able to realize final sensations and the suffering.
Dear Sayadaw, I would like to seek Venerable Kovida's advice on the increasingly popular Western belief of cosmic consciousness. Many of the Western spiritual masters have claimed that they were able to connect to the cosmic consciousness or higher self and found that all beings are part of the cosmic consciousness, therefore all beings are the same, and there's oneness in our world. Why is such view classified as untrue views in Abhidhamma? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah, this is the first time I have ever known about cosmic consciousness. Actually, when I know this question, I have to read some articles. Okay, why it is untruth or untruth view in Vidhamma? This is the main question, right?
Yes.
So, okay, here one more thing about oneness. Similar to atta, atta. Actually, when I read the article, there is also mentioned like an entity, everlasting entity, similar to eternalism. So that is why it's a little bit messy. Actually, there are many other arguments in the article, so there are many other different scholars say different things, right? Also, one more thing is like it's also produced by laugh or something like that, right? When we have a laugh, we can see like this is something a little bit new or new to me. Anyway, the main thing is a oneness. According to Vidhamma, we cannot say oneness because combinations of many things as a one, right? So that means we have many different types of competitiveness. Even consciousness, there are many associated mental factors. So we have different living beings, different mental factors, different mind movements. Okay, that's why, according to Vidhamma, this is the untruth. Okay, we can say another way. It's a little bit close to eternalism. This is the one thing. It's also similar to atta. This is also another reason. Okay, we can say by these two things, we can understand as untruth. Okay.
Next. Dear Sayadaw, how do we differentiate space kasina and boundless space kasina? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Actually, I have already answered this question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have to review, right? A short review. In the boundless space, okay, the space kasina, we have to take only the space object around our face, right? But boundless space, we have to take entire space as object. It will be different. Okay. The next one.
Yes, Sayadaw, while practicing arupa jhana, if a meditator can feel the existence of his body, does it mean that he already has the patigasanya, the perception of resistance, the perception of impingement of any objects in any sense though? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sure. Okay, in this case, we can also understand, sure, this is because if we feel the body, it depends on how you feel, right? For example, like a touching on the floor or pain in the body, that kind of things, we can say this is a patigasanya, gross perception, sure. Okay, next one.
Dear Sayadaw, what is the importance of practicing arupa jhana? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, there will be many different reasons, many different purposes of practicing. So for like Arhat or Anagami, those who attain Arhatship or Anagami by pure Vipassana vehicle, they may practice Arupa Jhanas to enter cessation attainment, Nirodha Samapatti. This is one reason. Another one is just foundations of Vipassana. This is also another purpose. Then another one is to live peacefully in this very life. This is also another reason. Then, okay, the last one is to practice for psychic power. When we are going to attain psychic power, we have to practice attainment. That's why it's also important. So it depends on the purpose of practitioners. There will be different importance, right? Okay.
Dear Sayadaw, for a meditator who has not practiced nama meditation, how do they take consciousness as an object for the second and fourth arupa jhana? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. Actually, consciousness is just knowing the objects, right? Although we don't practice nama meditation, it doesn't matter, because in nama meditation we have to know many other mentalities, for example, like a contact, feeling, perceptions, and so forth, right? There are many other mental factors that arise together. This is in nama meditation. Okay, in the case of immaterial jhana, we have to take only consciousness as object. Okay, for example, boundless consciousness. So the mind that take boundless space as object is called boundless consciousness. Right? In the very beginning, we have to know boundless space. Then we have to know boundless consciousness. We don't know boundless space anymore. We just know consciousness. Right? This is also possible. So similarly, in the full of consciousness, right? This is all of calmness. So here we just calmness of line, right? We get the sublime consciousness. So anyway, the practiced Nama meditations, then we can take only consciousness as object. That means the object that know the mind that know the object. This is good enough. So we don't need to know that much in detail, but it's simpler than that's why it's possible to take second and the fourth Arubha jhanas. Okay.
Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, how does a meditator verify that he has taken correct objects for Arupa jhana since they have no form? For example, boundless consciousness. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So that means your mind will take only the minds that know the objects, right? That means if you just know the minds that know the objects, this is the call. Correct. There's no form, no shape, but no visible objects, but you can still knowing the minds, the consciousness that know the objects. That's why we can say this is correct. Another one is a calmness of the consciousness, calmness of the jhana. So as long as you can know the calmness, you can know this calmness of the jhana, this is good enough. Okay, we can say this is a correct object. But at the time you have very, very subtle perceptions. This is the one thing. It doesn't mean you have to take perception as an object. Also one more thing, right? Be careful that one. Itawata ja'amehi sambhadam bunya sambhadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe satta numodandu sabba sampati siddhya idam me nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyadeyo idam me nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyadeyo idam me nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyadeyo idam me punyam asavakaya vaham hotu idam me punyam nibbanasa bhattyo hotu mama punya bhagam sabbasadanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.